Well, hello my friends, it's Shawn Petite and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Look at this project. It's so good. Here are the supplies that we'll be using and the stencils that we'll be using and that will be on sale this week. So I'm starting out in my handmade journal and I have gessoed the page already, and I'm using two Arteza colors, cold gray and regular gray. And I started with my silicone brush because I'm still working my way through trying to feel comfortable with it, but I didn't really like how it was looking. And so I switched to just a regular brush because I knew the idea that I had, and I needed a lot of paint on there to start with, so that I had a lot of paint to be able to do some reverse stenciling and kind of wipe things up and kind of wipe paint around. And with the silicone brush, it tends to leave a very thin layer of paint, which is good in a lot of applications, but I knew I needed a little bit more for this. So here is the Moroccan Tile 4 stencil, and I'm just doing some reverse stenciling. I'm just taking a clean rag and pulling up the paint that is underneath. And when I pulled up the paint, I had that big kind of white space from my rag, and I loved it so much that I wanted to recreate it over and over and over again. Of course I couldn't, but I just began starting to wet my rag and kind of pull things up, pull the paint up to reveal kind of that under layer of the journal page. And it just made me so happy. And just really messy and grungy, and I just was really happy. I wasn't exactly sure. I knew I was putting papers down, and I wasn't exactly sure where I was going to see some of that stenciling peek out, so I kind of did a little bit more on this page because I knew I was going to have more paper over on that side. So I just decided to spread out my paint on this side with my rag to start, and it was very dark. So I added a little bit more gesso, and the paint had been on that side for a while, so it was a little dry, so I needed to kind of loosen it up a little bit, so put some gesso down. And I'm just doing the same reverse stenciling on this side as well. And I typically don't go for such a straight line that I have on this side, but I knew that I was putting the quote over there and it felt right. And sometimes you kind of have to just go with your gut and not think about the rules that you may typically follow when you're creating. And again, I'm just going to wipe up here and do the same exact technique on this side that I did on the other side. I'm putting a little bit of alcohol on my towel because the paint is starting to dry, and I'm just going to scrub it a bit and just really get that kind of grungy feel. It just makes me so happy. Trying to soften up some of that hard line on that stencil on that side. So now that all of the background is done, I've gathered some papers, and 2 collage packs that I'm working from will be on sale this week for you. I've gathered a couple of winter photos that represent my story and the quote and the inspiration, and I'm putting everything down with matte gel. And every single paper, every stencil from here forward has a meaning. The papers are telling my story, the journal page of keeping track of time, the dates on some of the ledger papers, which indicates January, which is part of this story. And all of the things have this incredible meaning to me. And this journal page was really deep and intuitive for me because of how I was just kind of thinking about the past year. And so I just start, this is big bold numbers and regular numbers. And so 11 is 11 months since we have been in quarantine. 3 and 2 is February, when everything kind of started last year. And I talk about this at the end of the video, so I hope you stick around for the conversation. So all the numbers, everything has meaning. This little piece of book page text that says, "I am weary of being underground." As I was searching for my papers, it was like right in front of me. It was just, and it just, I mean, I was almost in tears when I saw it. I was like, oh my goodness, yes. I'm lightening up some of the stenciling that I've done with just a bit of water so that it looks a little faded. Those numbers look faded and not so new. I've got the Moroccan tile stencil here and a little bit of Nova Color texture paste. And I love the Nova Color texture paste. It's like just the right consistency and it dries perfectly white, which I love, love, love. And just getting some contrast down on my page here with a little bit of delicate kind of soft feel that kind of represents that tenderness of this page. And then adding a little bit of that texture paste, what was left on my palette knife, to this side because I knew my quote was going to go in there and I really wanted that to kind of stand out a bit. Now I've got my gesso out and I'm just kind of softening some of those hard edges and really kind of blending everything together, making it feel cohesive and all part of one piece. A link to the supplies will be listed down below in the YouTube description box. And it's a link to the blog where all of everything is at. I printed out my wonderful quote that I had never read the entire quote before. And it was so beautiful and moving for exactly where I was at. I love it when that happens. Printed it out on tissue paper and I'm just putting it down with my fluid matte medium. And now that I've got the quote down and it's dry, I'm just adding a little bit of Liquitex acrylic ink in transparent raw umber to really just kind of give it that grunge and kind of vintagey feel and ink stained and time, you know, kind of representing time. I just love this. I love Liquitex inks in general, but this raw umber, transparent raw umber is yummy. Makes me feel like tea stained. And I'm just dipping my brush into my bucket water and just kind of laying it down and trying to let it just pool and be natural like you would see on old papers. Just kind of dabbing up some of the darker spots so that they don't feel too dark and maybe make it feel a little lopsided, and yet still trying to let it feel natural. I could play all day with my acrylic inks. So now I'm going to use my Stabilo All pencil for my shading. I didn't grab my charcoal pencil because I really wanted it to kind of go with the feel, to have it feel like that ink, but I wanted to have more control as to where I added some darks and some shading. So I hope you stick around for the conversation at the end. It's a good one about this last year and all the feelings of winter. And if you enjoyed today's project, I hope you subscribe and like and share and all those wonderful things. And always share your projects if you were inspired. All right, my friends, that's about it, and I will see you next week. Well, hello, my friends, and happy Sunday to you. Look at this yummy goodness. This just makes me, I love to touch it. It just makes me so happy. There's so many things that I love about this, but I'll talk about that in a second. So this week, by the time you see this, I will have a new workshop out. It's called Step by Step. It's a finish it workshop, a single project start to finish. Super fun, easy, and reasonably priced. So I'll have a link to that and you can check that out. The stencils, I think there were 3 or 4 that I used for this project, will be on sale this week. And then I think there's 2 collage packs that I pulled from that will also be on sale this week. And again, all the links to the supplies will be down below. The link to the blog is down below and the links are on the blog. And that's it for info for this week. So this piece kind of came about as I was doing my review of my planning and just business stuff. I was looking over the calendar and realized that we're almost 1 year into COVID happening last year. It has started happening in March. We got locked down here in Ohio in March, and we're at the end of February, so we're coming up on a year. And I was just like, whoa, it's just been a kind of a blur. And it just has felt kind of gray and hazy, and just I don't think anybody really has good words yet for everything. And while we are good and all is good, and it's just, I think everybody understands the feeling of what has been happening for a year now, and not to mention all the other things. But I started thinking about it, and I was like, God, it feels like it's been a long, long winter. And right now in Ohio, we're in the heart of winter, and January and February usually are worst weather months, and it's cold. It's feet of snow, and it just is what it is. That's just how it is. And about this time, I start getting kind of like antsy to, you know, not have it be gray all the time. And coupled that with just a year long of confinement, I think everyone's just a little like, oh, when is this going to be over? Like it's winter, like we do with winter. And with winter, we know that summer is coming. With what we're dealing with right now with COVID, I just don't know. No one knows. Hopefully, sooner than later. And so when I started thinking about winter, I started getting this whole picture of the gray and the cold and just this kind of confinement. And I started looking through some books that I had for some pictures, and I just happened to find this sentence, and it says, "I'm weary of being underground." Oh, I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if that'll even go with anything that I have going on, because I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but it was going in here because that's what it feels like. And then as I started thinking about winter and searching for quotes that kind of felt how I was feeling, this quote came up. And what's really great is that normally I only read this much of the quote. And so the quote is, "In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer." And that makes, and that's normally all I know of the quote. But I found the whole thing, and it says, "And that makes me happy, for it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back." And it felt like a breath of air. It felt like an affirmation of, all right, here we go. We can do this. There's just a few more months of winter, and that's kind of how I have to look at it. No matter what is pushed against me, us, within us, there's something stronger. We can make it. We might not like it, and I might pout, and I might, wah, wah, wah. But there's something better. Something better within me. Something better that is growing within me because of winter, because of this season, because of this year, because of all the things. Something better is coming and pushing right back. And it just felt so perfect. And then, I'm weary of being underground. Well, I'm going to push my way out. I don't want to be underground anymore. And of course, I have to follow the rules and all those kinds of things with COVID. But just stepping out in other ways, like calling, reaching out, meeting up with people virtually, something to push back against this feeling, against this midst of winter, pushing back to find summer somehow in the midst of all the things. And that's what we have to do. I know that's what I have to do to combat all of the winter blues. And you couple winter blues with COVID blues and all the other things. Yeah, we have to push against that kind of, for me, I tend to I seclude myself more and more and more, and pushing back against that to find some summer, some spring, some bright in the dark. And so that is my inspiration and my journal page for today. So my loves, I don't know, I know every state is different, and ours has been fairly good about things, but it's still hard. It's still restrictive. It's still all the things. And I hope that you push back against the winter to find some spring or some summer in your life if you're feeling that. Because within you there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back. And I wish that for you today. All right, my loves, have a wonderful Sunday, and always, always know that you are loved.